The mastermind behind a notorious Albuquerque murder is dead. He died last week in a Los Lunas prison.
Yeah, but the memory of the UNM student that he killed decades ago lives on. Linda Daniels was a 22-year-old anthropology major at UNM when she disappeared in 1986. Her disappearance put Albuquerque's law enforcement into high gear.
Everybody was jumping through every hoop they possibly could to find what had happened to Linda. The clock was running, and we wanted to find her alive. And the days started clicking by, and we were very unsure about that.
Eventually, an investigation, police say, led them to Johnny Zinn. Officers say he sent 3 others to find a woman to star in a pornographic video. They snatched Daniels off her boyfriend's doorstep, sexually assaulted her, then killed her, abandoning her body under a bridge. Officials say 74-year-old Zinn died last week in the Los Lunas prison. A 9-year-old national wrestling champion from New Mexico has died. Caleb Georgie Bindle was killed in a playground accident in his backyard in Carlsbad last week. His family didn't want to share details, but they do say he inspired people on and off the mat, practicing for hours a day. Wrestling for the Carlsbad Cavemen, he made friends all around the state.
Whether the kid was real interested in getting a hug or not, Caleb would grab him and snatch him up and give him a great big hug.
At 61 pounds of muscle, Georgie took home national wrestling titles and had hopes of wrestling one day in the Olympics. 5:03, and a 71-year-old Albuquerque teacher is back in the classroom this morning after being punched at school. Surveillance video shows that teacher, Vincent Criscuola, trying to break up a fight last week at McKinley Middle School. You can see him in a green shirt there trying to get between 2 8th graders. Barely make that out. Criscuola was punched several times and suffered a bruised hip and other injuries.
This morning, the former LANL scientist who tried to sell U.S. nuclear weapons secrets to Venezuela is starting his 5-year sentence. For the first time, we're hearing how the deal went down in just released video. Back in 2008, Pedro Mascaroni told an undercover FBI agent posing as a Venezuelan official he would use what he learned at Los Alamos National Laboratory to help develop nuclear weapons for Venezuela, and even a bomb meant for New York City. Video of that deal was played in court just yesterday.
Picture the following scenario. Picture that Venezuela could have 40 nuclear weapons. Nobody in the United States will know that I'm using my brain helping the Venezuela government.
Mascaroni's wife, who also worked at LANL, was charged with conspiracy and sentenced to a year in prison. You can see all of the surveillance video and hear the recordings and more on KRQE.com. More national secrets have been leaked. Federal investigators say Los Alamos National Lab misclassified information that should have been secret, so it was made public. The U.S. Department of Energy found one official at the bomb building lab did not protect classified information in several instances. They said the employee openly discussed confidential information at a public gathering and then published some of the material in an article. The lab says it's addressed that issue. A former Santa Ana Pueblo governor admits he stole millions of dollars. Bruce Sanchez and his partner in crime, real estate broker Thomas Keesing, embezzled $3.5 million from the state's 19 Indian pueblos. Sanchez's job was to develop the old Indian school property in Albuquerque off 12th and Manal. The feds say Kissing would overbill the pueblos. Sanchez would sign off on the invoice, and they would split all of that money.
Time is 5:05. We now know when a judge will hear arguments on whether District Attorney Carrie Brandenburg and her office should be kicked off the James Boyd case. That hearing is scheduled for March 2nd. Earlier this month, Brandenburg charged APD officers Keith Sandy and Dominique Perez with murder for fatally shooting Boyd in the foothills. Brandenburg has also said she has no plans to step aside, despite claims that she and her office have a conflict of interest in prosecuting that case. An independent police reviewer in Denver will look into the Denver Police Department's policies and practices when it comes to shooting at moving vehicles. This after protests from family and friends of a teenager shot dead by police there this week. Last night, protesters gathered outside the Denver police station hoping to put pressure on police after Jesse Hernandez was shot. The 17-year-old had allegedly stolen a car when police showed up. 2 girls who were in that vehicle say police gave no warning.
The cops just started running up and shooting. And she got shot, and then I got shot.
They didn't try to warn us, like, get out or we're gonna shoot you.
Denver's police chief says officers only fired after they were hit by the car Hernandez was driving. Police say the officer Hernandez sustained a leg injury. Both officers involved have been put on leave while the case is investigated.
Breaking overnight, one person is dead. At least 5 others are hurt after a massive apartment fire in San Francisco. Smoke could be seen billowing out of the 3-story building's windows starting around 8 o'clock last night. Take a look at this video. More than 100 firefighters were sent to the apartments in the historic Mission District. At least 40 residents are without a home this morning. The American Red Cross is setting up an emergency shelter at a nearby college campus.
Also developing right now, the number of measles cases linked to Disneyland is growing. The Associated Press reports this morning there are now 95 cases, 79 in California alone. Several people are also ill in neighboring states to New Mexico. Health workers say many of those infected were not vaccinated. Measles is one of the top 2 most contagious viruses. One California school, though, is taking drastic measures to keep that disease from spreading. 66 high school students in Palm Desert have been sent home because they are not vaccinated. None of those students can return to class until February 9th unless they can otherwise prove that they have been vaccinated. This comes after another student showed possible symptoms of measles. That teenager was eventually cleared to return to class.
And this comes on the heels of health officials saying that the clusters do happen where people are not being vaccinated.
And again, Arizona and Colorado cases have showed up there already.
Yeah, pretty frightening. Morning, police are still searching for the man who sexually assaulted a runner in the metro a month ago. That's changing how runners are using the trails. With the attacker still out there, runners are banding together. And the Bosque Running Store is now carrying pepper spray bracelets and other safety gear. Runners say the extra precautions are their way of not letting the attack stop them.
I really think it is good for people to continue doing what they love, of which for most of us it is running or hiking.
And police released a sketch of the possible suspect. They say the man attacked the woman in December on the trail between Tramway and Wantabo. First, he hit the woman on the head, then forced her into the John Robert Dam where he assaulted her. If you know who he is, you're asked to call police.
5:32 now, and happening in just hours in our capital city. Sportsmen from across the state say they'll rally against the transfer of public lands. They're arguing that doing so would limit access to hunting and fishing for the public. The group of New Mexico hunters and anglers say if the state gains control of national forests or BLM land, they could then lease or sell that land, which could lead eventually to the loss of public access. The rally begins at 2 o'clock. Staying on top, meantime, of a lawmaker's proposal to change the way you pay taxes. Farmington Senator Bill Scherer is proposing a 2% sales tax across the board. For example, in Albuquerque, the current tax is 7%, and that means you pay $1.40 on a $20 shirt. But his plan would drop that to 40 cents. Still, the tax would be added to things you aren't currently taxed on, like groceries. Scherer says it would clean up a tax system mess.
No personal income tax, no corporate income tax, no compensating tax, no vehicle excise tax, no insurance premium tax, and about 100 other taxes go away.
This sounds wonderful, but once again, there's some issues out there that we have to resolve.
Critics of the plan say it's a risky move because it's not certain how much money the 2% tax would generate.
A state lawmaker wants New Mexico to stop falling back and springing forward and stay on daylight saving time all the time. Happening today, Senator Cliff Pirtle is expected to introduce the bill. It would mean New Mexico would be on only one time all year long.
It is not necessary. We need to stop the madness. There's no point in putting ourselves through this twice a year.
Now, if New Mexico made the change, we would effectively be in the mountain time zone most of the year, then switch to the central time zone when everyone changed their clocks. Pirtle's proposal may run afoul of federal law, which does allow states to opt out of observing daylight saving time. That's what Arizona and Hawaii do, but it doesn't allow states to observe daylight saving time all of the time. 5:34, don't forget, stay with KRQE on air and, of course, online for everything you need to know this legislative session. It's going to be a very big day for a young boy who has been fighting the battle of a lifetime.
And today, his dream of becoming a police officer comes true. News 13's Catherine Mazzone has learned more about the young teenager and the day that lies before him. Catherine?
Well, that's right, Adam. Crystal, 13-year-old Jordan Evans has endured chemo and radiation treatments to fight cancer. But today, he's taking on the work of a Santa Fe police officer.
We're actually going to swear him in and do a little ceremony to make him an official cop for the day.
Santa Fe Police Department tells us Jordan's mom contacted them to help her fulfill her son's dream of becoming a police officer. Today, he'll do just that. He'll go on a call with the SWAT team, sit through the police driving course, see how the bomb equipment works, investigate a crime scene, and interview a suspect. Last year, Jordan was diagnosed with the form of children's cancer, and he's been fighting it ever since. The police department has never had a request quite like this one before. They say it's something they're looking forward to.
When you have a young boy who's gone through so much, it means a lot that we're able to give back in this way. If we can make his dream come true for one day, that's all we can ask.
Now, it will be a full day for Jordan, starting at 9 a.m. with the honorary police officer swearing-in ceremony. Adam, back to you.
All right, thanks, Catherine. Right now, Jordan is in remission, but is closely monitored at UNM. He has upcoming routine MRIs and a few more surgeries. One is his reconstruction surgery on his nose. That's where the cancer was initially found.
Developing this morning, the fate of 2 hostages being held by ISIS could be decided within hours. ISIS has extended a prisoner swap deadline to 9:30 Eastern time this morning. ISIS wants to bargain the lives of Kenjo Goto, a Japanese journalist and a Jordanian fighter pilot, for the release of a failed female suicide bomber being held by Jordan. The Islamic State released a chilling new voice message last night. In the tape, a voice they claim is Goto's explains what will happen if Jordan does not release the female prisoner. The unprecedented prisoner swap puts Jordan at odds with long-standing U.S. policy, though.
We don't make concessions to terrorists. That is our policy. Every country has the ability and the right to make decisions about, obviously, within the realm of what is acceptable by international law.
And happening just today, Japanese officials say they believe there is, quote, a high probability that the voice in the tape is Mr. Goto.
Just days before the Super Bowl now, opening statements in the murder trial of a former NFL standout begin today. Former New England Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez is accused of shooting semi-pro football player Odin Lloyd in 2013. His body was found near his home. Hernandez is pleading not guilty. So are his co-defendants, Ernest Wallace and Carlos Ortiz. Here are some more facts we dug up. Hernandez is also charged in a 2012 double murder in Boston. He's pleaded not guilty on those charges, too. A judge has blocked any mention of that case in his current trial. We've learned that an Alamogordo woman is riding clean, you might say, after finding 13 pounds of pot stuffed in her van. This week, the lock on Melody Peel's van broke, and when a friend tried to fix it, they found the marijuana hidden in the door panel. Police say the drugs were likely stashed there years ago by the van's previous owner. They say they were so old they didn't even smell, they didn't even have a scent. So we told you border agents were going to x-ray the van to see if there were any more drugs in it. We did some checking, and her van is officially now drug-free.
I still can't believe that story.
So
Could
bizarre.
you imagine finding out you had that in your vehicle that whole time?
It would definitely worry you a little bit, right? That it was in the rest of the van, too. Apparently not.
Absolutely.